If you're a worship leader at a new church, I bet you have a list of to-dos that is a mile long. But you want to know what the first thing that you should do before anything else is? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Blueprint Sounds. My name is Nathan Smith. Thanks for joining me. And today's topic is, you're the new worship leader. What do you do? Right? I'm sure you're moving into your office, you've met the new pastor, you're starting to meet the new people around you, and you're trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to get this thing to where we want to go? Here's the first thing that you should do before thinking about your sound system or a set redesign or musicians or multi-tracks, anything else. And here it is. Build joy. That's it. Build joy. That's the first step, and an often overlooked one. Whether you're a new worship leader or a worship leader, 3, 5, 10 years in. So what is joy? Because there's actually a definition for it. How do you build it, and why do you want to build it? Let me explain. Joy is not happiness, right? You could be happy playing in a sandbox by yourself. But that's not what joy is. Joy, scientifically, is the act of being glad to be with someone. So when I hang out with my wife, or when I walk through the door coming home from work, she is happy to see me, and I'm happy to see her, and that is joy. Or when I see my little daughter, I'm happy to see her. Or if I call a friend and we go out for coffee, he and I are happy to see each other. That's what joy is. And joy is not happiness because it's not only in the good times. For example, if there was a death in the family and the whole family gathers around and goes into the home of that person who lost a loved one, well, that's obviously not a happy experience, but still, we're all glad that we're together in it. We're all glad that we're there with that person in their hurt. That's still joy because it's about the belonging and the relationship. It's not about the circumstances. So that's joy. Well, why is it so important that your organization has it, or that your worship team has it? Well, that's the Christian life. If you read the New Testament, where Paul is explaining to the Jew and the Gentiles how this whole Christianity thing works, what it was that Jesus was really after, it's about building joy among disparate people. Right? Because it used to be that only the Jews could have salvation. In the Old Testament, that's what we see. We see glimpses of what God really intended for Jesus to do when he died on the cross, which is make it so that everybody could come to him. Well, if you're a Christian, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, or what color you are, or where you come from, or what you sound like or talk like. It's for everyone. Everyone belongs to the family of Christ. That's what Paul spends so much time explaining to the Jews and the Gentiles. He's like, guys, all those regulations and all the old stuff that you guys used to get hung up on, that's not how this works anymore. It's all about belonging to God and belonging to one another. That's why the commandments are, love the Lord your God. And the second one Jesus says is, love your neighbor as yourself. And all of the law and the prophets is wrapped up in those two commands. Well, for us to be Christians, for us to be a worship team, we have to be growing in the fruit of the Spirit. And the second one on the list is joy, is being glad to be with one another, to be glad to be with the people of God. These are our people. If we're not showing that, if we're not growing in that, then we're not really a worship team. We're just a collection of people on a stage playing a song at the same time. And that's very, very different from a collection of a worship team that loves each other and loves God like he commands us to. So if you want to boil it down, we have to have joy because we're commanded by God to do it, but he knows it's good for us. All right. So how do you build joy in an organization, especially one that maybe you didn't come in on such good terms, or the person who left before you didn't leave on such good terms? People are hurt. It's a low joy environment. How do you build joy? We're going to start with 4 super, super simple things. And I bet these are all things that you hopefully learned from your parents when you were young. Please. The word please. Very, very underutilized today. Please is so important. Why? It'd be important for anybody, but you're working with volunteers, I bet you. And those people have options. They could go to another church. They could not serve on the worship team. They don't have to be there, and yet they are. Well, duty is only going to get you so far. You can only appeal to, well, this is your job as a servant of Christ. That's not going to work forever. Please is a wonderful way of explaining to somebody in one word, I know you don't have to do this. I know and I appreciate you for who you are, not just that you got this thing done for me. Please is huge. After please comes thank you. Constantly be saying thank you. And you can tell why it's so important, because when you take it out, it feels awful. Imagine if I'm sitting in the living room on my phone and my wife makes me a cup of coffee and comes in and sets it on the tray in front of me and goes back into the kitchen and she doesn't hear thank you from me. What's with that? Why would she ever want to do anything for me again? Right? Do I just expect that coffee magically appears on my tray every day? Well, no, a person did that. A person was behind that act of kindness. And that sign of gratitude is so big. So every time that you're around your team, whether it's greeting them in the morning or as they leave, saying please, saying thank you, and meaning it builds joy. Because again, these people are volunteers. They don't have to be there to do what they do. They need to know that you care and that you appreciate them. Number 3, after please and thank you are smiles. Again, it's really, really simple. It's stuff that we should learn as kids, but we've kind of gotten out of the habit of it. So let me give you this example. The resting beep face, right? The resting beep face is where maybe you're looking at a computer or you're looking at any screen and your eyes just kind of get this default furrowed brow, not really interested. All right, that's okay for a screen because it's an inanimate object. But imagine if you were in band practice and someone is talking, maybe they're throwing out an idea for how they could end a song or how we could build up this one section, and you give them that look. You might not even mean to. Well, our brain processes faces. Our facial recognition is really, really good, and it's faster than you can process the content of speech. So as I'm talking right now, you're seeing my face and processing my face before you're processing what it is that I'm saying. So if you're talking or listening to someone and you say one thing, but your face shows another, guess what is actually getting across? It's this, not what you're saying. Some of you might need to practice your face. I mean, we practice our voice, we practice our guitar playing, our piano, or our drums. But do we practice having a communicative face and actually showing people with everything that we are that we care about what they're saying? Or do we react in our face in a way that if there was a mirror in front of us, we'd probably think, I don't know that I would want to be talking to somebody who looks like that to me. That's number 3. And finally, number 4, we've got please, thank you, smiles. Lastly is eye contact. And eye contact might be the rarest of those 4 right now. Why? Because of our phones, because of screens. We are so easily distracted. And there's so many reasons to be distracted. But when you're talking with someone about anything, if you're on your phone, what kind of message does that send? It says silently, I'm not super invested in you. I don't really care what you're doing. I don't really care what you're saying, about what you're saying. Mostly I care about my Twitter feed or Instagram or whatever social media you're on. That's the message that you're sending. You might not mean that, and you probably would never actually say that. But that's the message. And that drops joy right down to the bottom faster than anything else. So it's very, very important that we actually communicate with our whole selves to another person. I care about you. I'm glad you're here. I'm happy to be with you. These are simple, simple things to do. And yet they're the things that we do all the time, and those add up. So before you start thinking about all of the big things that you want to cross off your list as a new worship leader in a church or an organization, before you think about the lights and the colors and the sound and the multi-tracks and the live stream and all the rest of it, your team needs to have their joy built up. And that needs to become part of the culture of your church. The culture of your worship team has to be one of joy. Why? Because there are going to be hard times. Absolutely. But you never let problems, you never let hard times become bigger than relationships. If your relationship is so weak with the rest of your team that it can't handle a hard time, then it will disintegrate. Your team will collapse. But if you've built joy in your team and you've made it a cultural thing to where everybody understands that these are my people and they're fun to be around, that even if times are hard, we stick together because that's who we are, then your team will ride that storm and they'll be able to get over that hard time and come out on the other side even better. The choice is yours. You as the leader get to make that choice every day with how you say please, thank you, eye contact, and smile. I hope that helps. Hey, if you'd like to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or better yet, go to my website, blueprintsounds.com. You can download a free PDF, 23 things every worship team and tech team should hear. It's full of good advice for everybody on your team, stuff that you probably should have heard years ago, but I'll tell you now. Until next time, God bless and goodbye.